The Avarian Empire had ruled unchallenged for 12,000 years. Their fleets carved glowing paths across the stars. Their banners flew over conquered systems. Their enemies either submitted or vanished. No species had ever dared to strike at the Avarian homeworld, until humanity, Princess Kellis, stood in the grand observatory of the capital spire, her silver robes flowing behind her as she stared at the tactical display suspended in the air. Red markers blinked at the edge of the system. Human ships, not scouts. Not traders, warships. They crossed 3 defense perimeters, said High Commander Valoran. Their engines are damaged, but they continue advancing. Kellis narrowed her 4 luminous eyes. They were warned, Valoran continued. We sent them a message after the probe incident. The probe incident. Avarian scouts had entered the Sol system months ago. A simple show of power. A reminder that a young species should know its place. The humans had destroyed every probe. Then they sent one. Message back, do not come again. The council had dismissed it as noise. Now those same humans were approaching the imperial capital. How many? Kellis asked calmly. 7 primary warships, 20 escorts. Valoran hesitated. That is all. A small fleet against the heart of an empire. Kellis felt something stir inside her. Not fear, interest. Double quotes, they know they cannot win, Valoran said. Yes, Kellis replied softly, which means they are not here to win. Moments later, the sky ignited. Orbital cannons fired beams of violet energy. Human ships twisted and rolled through the storm. They did not scatter. They stayed tight. Damaged ships were shielded by others. Escape pods were launched with precision. They were not reckless. They were determined. Then, something impossible happened. A human carrier plunged through a weak point in the shield, grid and descended toward the capital city. They are landing troops. Valoran shouted, Kale is turned. Prepare my armor. The palace trembled as explosions echoed through the outer districts. Human drop pods streaked through the atmosphere like burning meteors inside the grand entry hall. Avarian guards formed defensive lines. Energy rifles hummed. The marble floors glowed with defensive sigils. The main doors shattered. Inward, smoke rolled through the corridor. Through the haze marched human soldiers in black composite armor. Their movements were sharp and coordinated. One fired while another advanced. One shielded while another dragged a wounded comrade to safety. They did not panic under Avarian fire. They adjusted. Princess Kellis stepped forward. Her combat armor sealed around her body. Silver plates layered with energy shields. An elegant blade of condensed plasma ignited in her hand. The human advance slowed. At their center stood a tall figure without his helmet. A scar crossed his cheek. His face was smeared with ash. His eyes were steady, and he was smiling. Not a wild grin, not mockery, a calm, unwavering smile. Kellis felt something. Unexpected curiosity. The man stepped forward and raised a hand. Hold, he ordered his squad. They obeyed instantly. I'm Princess Kellis of Avarice, she declared. You stand in the core of an empire that has never fallen. The man inclined his head. Slightly, Captain Adrian Vale, United Earth Defense, Fleet Defense. The word echoed in her thoughts. You call this defense? She asked. You sent armed probes into our system, he replied evenly. We call this a reply. The palace shook again as distant detonations rattled the foundations. "You are vastly outnumbered," she said. "Yes. You are far from home. Yes. You cannot win." He smiled a little wider. "That depends on what winning means." He drew a long, kinetic blade from his back. "Single combat," he offered. Gasps spread among Avarian guards. He challenged the heir to the empire in her own hall. Keller stepped forward. "Very well." They circled each other. He moved first. His strike was powerful and direct. She parried with fluid precision. Sparks flew as metal clashed against plasma. He fought with grounded strength, every motion efficient. No wasted movement. She spun, slashing toward his shoulder. He twisted, barely avoiding the blow. The edge of her blade scorched his armor. He did not retreat. He stepped closer. "You are skilled," she said. "We have practice," he replied. She increased her speed, attacking from multiple angles. For a moment, she pressed him back. Then he changed rhythm. He stopped trying to match her. Speed. He began reading her. He anticipated her feint before she completed it. Their blades locked. Their faces were close enough for her to see the steadiness in his eyes. "You expected fear," he said quietly. She disarmed him with a sharp twist. His blade skidded across the floor. Avarian. Rifles aimed at his chest. He raised his empty hands, still, smiling. "Finish it," he said calmly. No trembling, no pleading, only resolve. "Why do you not fear death?" she demanded. "I do," he answered. "But I fear surrender more." Her tactical implants streamed updates. Human forces had disabled 3 military towers. Civilian casualties were minimal. Human soldiers were guiding Avarian non-combatants away from crossfire. They were not slaughtering. They were sending a message. "You cannot defeat us in prolonged war," she said. "Probably not," he admitted. The honesty unsettled her. "Then why come?" He held her gaze. "Because you thought we were weak." Silence filled the shattered hall. "For 12,000 years," she said slowly, "no species has challenged avarice." "That's why we had to," he replied. She studied him carefully. If she killed him now, humanity would not surrender. They would send more fleets. They would fight system by system, decade by decade. Even if avarice won, the cost would scar the empire for centuries. All because they underestimated a young species. "You crossed half the galaxy for pride," she asked. "For dignity," he corrected. Her blade flickered. "And what do you want?" His smile softened. "Recognition, boundaries, respect, not conquest, not tribute, respect." Kale is lowered her weapon. A murmur spread through her. "Soldiers you were willing to die for." "Equality," she said. Double quotes, "Yes. And if I refuse?" His eyes remained steady. "We keep coming." She believed him, not because of numbers, not because of power, because of will. Kellis deactivated her blade. The sound echoed through the hall. "I will not waste my empire on a war born from arrogance," she said clearly. "Avarice withdraws from soul." Adrian blinked in surprise. "And Earth withdraws from your territory," he replied. Mutual recognition, agreed. He signaled his squad to lower their weapons. Moments later, confirmation arrived. Human ships were disengaging from orbital positions. Cannons powered down. The first war between avarice and humanity. ended within hours of beginning. Later, smoke still drifted above parts of the capital, but reconstruction drones were already at work. Princess Kellis stood on her balcony overlooking the glowing city. Footsteps approached. Adrian joined her. Without armor, he looked younger. The scar across his cheek was more visible. And still, that same striking smile remained. "You surprised me," she admitted. "You surprised us too," he replied. "You protected civilians. We fight soldiers," he said simply. She studied him. "You risked extinction," he nodded. "Humans don't live long. We don't have centuries to recover from being ruled. So we draw lines early. You gamble everything. Sometimes that's the only way anyone takes you seriously." She turned to face him fully. "When you smiled in battle," she said, "what were you thinking?" He looked out at the stars. "I was thinking that if I showed fear, you'd never see us as equals. And if I had killed you," he shrugged slightly, "someone else would have come, smiling, for the first time in her life." Princess Kellis felt admiration for an outsider. Species not because of their strength, but because of their refusal to kneel. She extended her hand, this time not as a ruler enforcing a treaty, but as a leader. Acknowledging another, he took it firmly above them. The stars of Ava shimmered quietly. The Empire had expected submission. Instead, it found defiance. Wrapped in discipline, it found courage without hatred. It found a species too stubborn to bow. The alien princess had expected to see fear in the human warrior's eyes. Instead, she saw a striking smile, and in that smile she understood something the galaxy would soon learn. Humans were not the strongest, they were not the oldest, were not the most advanced, but when treated as lesser, they did something rare. They stood up, and they did not step back. Asterisk,